Welcome to the Common Sense channel. Today's topic is: should we be called African Jamaicans? With me, I have Devon Morgan, who is a writer and researcher. Greetings, Brother Devon.
Greetings, Brother Taraka.
Now, Brother Devon, how would you make the case for Jamaicans to call themselves African Jamaicans?
Well, actually, Brother Taraka, that's just a starting point, really.
So, what do you mean?
Well, the ultimate goal is for us to see ourselves as Africans living in Jamaica, plain and simple.
So, do you think Jamaica would be receptive to this idea?
Well, once they hear the benefits and recognize the truth, some will and some won't. But eventually, once we teach the younger generation, the numbers will grow.
So, when you say truth, do you actually mean evidence?
Well, of course, this channel is about common sense, and common sense is based on facts and logic.
So, in that case, what is the evidence?
Well, you know this as a Jamaican as well. We all grew up hearing that the patois we speak is broken English. However, it turns out some of the words we use are African words. Surprise, surprise. For example, nyam, which is what we use for eat. The Fulani people in Senegal and Gambia use the same word and it has the same meaning. In Swahili, they have a word called doti, which means dirt or soil, earth. Jamaica, we use doti. Too much of a coincidence for it not to be, from the same people. In Nigeria, the Igbo people, they use the word unu, and it has the same meaning as we use in the word unu. The word bafan is from the Akan language, which means somebody who's helpless, a helpless child. In Jamaica, we say somebody's bafan if they're helpless and they're useless with their hands. There's a word called juka, which means poke or spur. In Jamaica, well, this word, the juka, is from Senegal. It's from Senegal and northern Nigeria and Cameroon, Fulani people. And they use the word juka, which means pork. In Jamaica, we use the word juk or jab, same meaning. There's a word called bukra from the Efik language, meaning white man. Jamaicans use bakramasa, meaning white man. There's a word called kaba kaba from the Iwe language, means unreliable. In Jamaica, this more or less means the same. Shabby job, person who does shabby work, we say kaba kaba. From Niger, Congo, they say adopi, meaning ghost. Jamaica, we say doffy. So they say broken English. So broken English would suggest, for example, when we use the word, we hear the word eat, and because we don't eat, we're not, we can't pronounce it properly, we end up with nyam. This makes no sense. Right? So apart from this being evidence that we come from Africa, it's evidence that we come from many parts of Africa. So, Brother Tarka, do you think they deliberately misled us with the idea that we speak broken English so that we don't identify with Africa?
Yes, come to think about it, I think that's true. And also, we have been repeating what we were told and we never questioned it. So, Brother Devon, what makes you think some Jamaicans would object to being called African Jamaicans now?
Well, I didn't think so while growing up in Jamaica. There were just so many songs, conscious songs about Africa, going back to Africa and all of that. And Peter Tosh had a particular song called African with the lyrics, "Don't care where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. No mind your nationality, you got the identity of an African." So, I took it for granted that everyone would agree with this. Didn't everyone see roots, even though it didn't flatter us, but it shows that we came from Africa. Anyway, my assumption was wrong, or the idea as or maybe the idea just diminished over the years. I was right, but somehow over the years it diminished. Um, and well, what led me to that? I read a story many years ago that shocked me and made me think something has changed, or I just misread the situation, as I said. Because what happened is that Mark Wignall, a journalist, wrote an article about an experience he had in a hairdressing salon. So what happened? He said he saw this child, a small child, and he said to her, you're a beautiful African princess, complimenting her, and she started crying and said she wasn't any African. She wasn't an African. And her mother came, and when she found out why her daughter was crying, she was angry and cussed him off, saying and declared that her daughter wasn't an African.
Why? So why would you think the child had such an extreme reaction to being called an African?
Well, that was the part of the story that shocked me the most. She must have been fed some really awful stories about Africa, about impressions about Africa. However, the principle in the Peter Tosh song is accurate and should be common knowledge or common sense and accepted by all of us.
That's true. But surely the idea didn't grow over the years.
Apparently not. But now that I understand the difficulties involved for such an idea to take root, I am not surprised. Even though it's not our fault, it's sad that any of us are unaware that we speak African words and that any of us would say we are not Africans. And yet our brothers and sisters in America call themselves African Americans, and they don't speak any African words as far as I'm aware. Strange, isn't it?
So why do you suppose they add their racial identity and their nationality together?
Perhaps because they had lost their racial memory. Our race is where our earliest ancestors originate, and right now Africa is filled with people who look like us. It's in our best interest to use the Chinese example to define race. No matter where a Chinese person was born, they refer to themselves as Chinese. Their ancestors are from Chinese. That's the principle. Many years ago, the world looked and saw a lot of people who had a certain appearance living in a country called China, and they call themselves Chinese. That's the principle. And everybody decided that it makes sense, and we agree that everyone who has the same appearance is Chinese, regardless of where they were born. This is why a Chinese born Jamaican is always first and foremost considered a Chinese, not a Jamaican. Wherever they go, they are immediately recognized as Chinese because they look like people in China. However, on April 1st, April Fool's Day, many years ago, while we were fast asleep, the world looked and saw a lot of people who had our appearance living on a continent called Africa, and they changed the rule regarding race. We were programmed to accept any number of identities except African as our race.
Mhm.
They are even trying to take Egypt out of our greatest civilization, out of Africa, and place it in a made up location called the Middle East. Amazing.
Wow. Made up location?
Yeah, yes, it is made up. Where is the Middle West or Middle North or South? If that was a geography term, you'd have a Middle West and a Middle North and a Middle South. There is no such place. So they just made that up for that specific purpose. But back to the identity thing. Our lack of racial identity has resulted in our nationality being the most important thing. And this is even common even in Africa. It should be common knowledge or common sense that Jamaican is only our nationality. There is no such thing as a Jamaican race.
Come to think of it, that's true.
We as African people have more identity than any other people. That's a fact.
So, have you got any ideas how many identities we have?
Oh, well, I don't know. But what I do know is that we have as many identities as the number of countries we were born in. That's basically how it is. One of the saddest thing I've ever heard was England being referred to as the motherland for many of us from the Caribbean. Especially when they're talking about Windrush people, they mention about the motherland. It's
Mhm.
always just disturbing when I hear that.
So in that case, how does not identify ourselves by our race affect us as a people?
Well, Brother Tarek, it makes us weak.
Well, how's that?
Well, if our priority is our Jamaican nationality, then we only have a potential team of 2.5 million people. If our priority is our race, it's over a billion people that we could work with as a team. Every black person would be a potential team member. If we become a team, it will be the greatest day in our time, in our lifetime, that is. Can you imagine a team of over a billion people? Can you imagine if we pool our knowledge, talent, and resources and Africa becomes a first world continent? We would have the perfect place to migrate if we wish. It has perfect weather, lots of fertile land, lots of wealth, lots of nice people, and major point, no racism.
Our lives cannot get much better than that.
Absolutely. If we raise our children on the understanding that we have the greatest history in the world because we brought civilization to the world and racial pride becomes the most natural thing for us, this dream of Africa will become a reality. By this time, we would have passed the stage where we are calling ourselves African Jamaicans. All black people will be calling themselves Africans, and it would have been as it would have been in the beginning. Well, whether it was that way in the beginning or not, it should be this way now. Because apparently in the beginning we had different identities as well. It wasn't just Africans. We didn't call ourselves by one name. But it should be that way now because there's no better option. Racism is global, and we are the number one victims. So why would we not want to be part of a team of over a billion people? Billion strong, filled with some of the most talented people in the world. Together, we would have more power to push back against racism. Why would we not want to identify with the richest continent in the world? Why would we not want to identify with the greatest history in the world?
Come to think of it, I can't think of a good reason.
Well, there is no good reason. And I think that is it for now. I hope our audience have gained something good from these ideas I've shared tonight. We have shared. So what you can do to help us is to subscribe, like, and share. Remember, as it's easy to forget to like and subscribe and all that. So try and remember if you wish the channel to grow. And I will see you next week.
So, same from me. Until next time, again, like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment.